Hey, church family, thanks for joining us for our last daily connection of the week. We are finishing up our time talking about trusting the Lord, looking at different ways that we can serve Him, and when we serve Him, we need to serve with trust. So we're finishing up also here in Proverbs chapter 3. Today we're going to be looking at verses 11 and 12, so I'm going to read through that. It says, "Do not despise the Lord's instruction, my son, and do not loathe His discipline. For the Lord disciplines the one He loves, just as a father disciplines the son in whom He delights." This whole week, man, we have looked at different places that we have to put our trust in the Lord, finances, in the way that we make decisions, trusting Him with our hearts, trusting His word, ways that we must trust Him if we're going to serve Him. But the reality is we don't always do that. Sometimes we make decisions on our own. Sometimes we make financial decisions or work decisions or church or family decisions on our own, and those decisions don't always work out real well. That's just a reality whenever we put our trust in ourselves or in other people, and we don't put our trust in the Lord. And unfortunately, when those things don't go well, we're going to face consequences for those things. Some consequences are greater than others. Some people face consequences that put them in prison. Some people face consequences in their marriage. Some people face consequences just internally, mentally, face consequences for decisions that they've made. But regardless, there are consequences, and oftentimes those consequences are in discipline. And I truly believe that the Lord, just as this passage is clear, disciplines you and I whenever we don't put our trust in Him, when we don't fear Him, we don't give Him the respect that He deserves and that He asks for. I think that He disciplines us. Something that I often see, though, is people have a hard time trusting God even in the discipline. When people make poor decisions because they put their trust in themselves or others and they face discipline, I oftentimes see people saying things like, why am I having to go through this hard thing if I've asked God for forgiveness? If I'm living my life for God now, why am I still struggling with this? Why is God doing this? I believe that that's still happening, and just because we said we're sorry, just because we've repented of sin that exists in our lives, doesn't mean that we're not going to face discipline. And the reality is that discipline is not always a bad thing. Oftentimes, discipline is more than just a reminder for us not to find ourselves in that sin again. A lot of times, discipline causes great growth within us as well. It makes us more into the image of Christ that we've been called to be. When we see in James 1, when it says, "Find pure joy when we face trials and tribulations," certainly that's talking about hard times. When it says that those things are going to make us more like Christ, it says more perfect, meaning more like Christ. But also, those trials and tribulations could be disciplines that we bring on ourselves. When we face discipline, we can find ourselves becoming more like Christ as we walk through that. And so I think that whenever we face discipline, even in discipline, as we serve God through it, we need to trust Him. We need to trust that His discipline, while it hurts, while it doesn't feel good, His discipline is good for us. This is something that I talk to my girls about whenever they have to get a spanking or whenever they get grounded. I tell them usually almost every time how much I hate doing it, how I do not want to have to discipline them. But I tell them, but this discipline is going to help you remember not to do this. It's going to help you grow and not just help you remember that, but help you instruct others. And I know that every time that we discipline our children, at least we try, every time we discipline our children, we want to see them grow from that. And I think for the most part, they trust us in that. Doesn't mean they like it, but I think that they trust us in that. And just as I do, that if you consistently discipline your children, you see them grow. You see them not make the same mistakes over and over and over again. You see them trust you more. And the reality is there are some children who want discipline, who actually love the parent who disciplines more because they need it. Guess what? We do too. We need the discipline. And so let's trust God even in those times when we're being disciplined. Let's trust that He knows what's best. He knows much better than you and I. So if you would take some time, think back to a time where maybe you were facing discipline, and did you trust God in that? And make a commitment to yourself, not just to yourself, but take a moment, fall on your knees even now, and make a commitment to God that, God, if I face discipline for sin that You're calling out in my life, God, I'm going to trust that Your discipline is good for me. Church family, as you are working through that, a very difficult topic, I want you to know that we love you and we're praying for you.